So let's dive into a really unique vision for how to build a better world. It's a perspective on social action that comes from the Bahá'í writings. And honestly, it all kicks off with this incredibly powerful idea about why we're even here.
Just think about that for a second. This one sentence gives all of humanity this huge shared purpose. It's basically saying that our very existence is tied to this idea of progress, not just for me or you or our country, but for the whole world.
Okay, that's a beautiful vision, right? But it immediately makes you wonder how? If that's our big job, how in the world do we actually do it? What are the rules, the tools, the building blocks for a task that big? Let's break down the answer that these texts offer.
First things first, let's stick with that foundational idea for a moment, because this concept of advancing civilization isn't just some nice, hopeful saying. It's presented as the absolute core of what it means to be human in this day and age.
So, what does ever advancing civilization actually mean here? Well, it's seen as this constant process that has two sides to it, a spiritual side and a material side. It's about our inner world, morality, kindness, and our outer world, science, art, how we organize ourselves. And the crucial part? This is for everybody, the entire human race, no exceptions.
And this is where that massive, global idea gets really personal. The perspective here is that the greatest thing any of us can achieve, our real honor, is to become a reason for other people's well-being and happiness. Our individual purpose is wrapped up in contributing to the good of the whole. All right, if that shared purpose is the roof of our new house, what's holding it up? The sources point to two principles that are completely inseparable. They're the foundational pillars you absolutely have to have: oneness and justice.
Now, this is fascinating because look at the direct link it's making. Justice isn't just some nice idea that sits next to unity. No, in this view, justice is the thing that actually causes unity. It's the practical, hands-on tool that makes it possible for people to come together and live in harmony.
This really captures the huge mental shift that's being called for. It's all about moving from a default setting of us versus them to one of genuine unity. It's asking us to grow beyond old loyalties and think on a global scale, and to get that what's good for one small part is only truly good if it helps the whole thing. And this principle of oneness, it's presented as something totally radical. It's not just a vague, hopeful thought. It's a call for a real, organic change in how our entire global society is structured. It's asking for a bigger loyalty, a loyalty to all of humankind. And it uses this amazing analogy of the human body. If one part hurts, the whole body feels it. And, so importantly, our diversity isn't seen as a problem we have to solve. It's our greatest strength. It's what makes us beautiful. Okay, so we've got our purpose and our pillars. But what's the engine? What's the dynamic force that actually moves civilization forward? Well, the texts use this simple but really powerful metaphor to explain it. Get this, humanity is like a bird. And to fly, a bird needs two wings. One wing is our material civilization, and the other is our spiritual civilization. The message is just crystal clear. You need both, working together in perfect balance if you ever want to get off the ground and make real progress. So, wing number one is everything we think of when we talk about progress, right? Science, technology, art, business, all the practical stuff we use to make our lives better. This kind of progress is seen as absolutely essential. But then you have the second wing. This is our moral compass. This is the spiritual side of things. Qualities like justice, love, unity. You could say it's the ethical engine that guides how we use all our material power, making sure we use it for good. And here's why that balance is so critical. Without that spiritual guidance, material progress by itself is like a ship without a rudder. It can be incredibly dangerous. The writings point out that the same scientific genius that can build a hospital can also be used to build a terrifying weapon. It's that spiritual dimension that keeps us aimed in the right direction. Now, all of this might sound a little abstract, a little high level. So how does any of this change actually happen, on the ground in our neighborhoods? Well, the approach described isn't some big top-down revolution. It's a patient process of building from the grassroots up. The key idea here is called organic growth. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like planting a seed. A seed doesn't just pop into a full-grown tree overnight, right? It grows slowly, step by step. The same idea applies to social change. You start with small, local efforts that grow naturally as the people themselves become more involved and capable.
And this breaks down into really practical steps. 1, you start small. You don't try to boil the ocean. 2, you focus on building up local capacity, helping people gain the knowledge and skills to become the heroes of their own story. And 3, you work towards universal participation, where everyone feels like they have a role to play and a stake in the outcome.
And this is such an important point. This is a total shift away from the old charity model. The whole emphasis is that this is not about one group doing a project for another group. It's about building the capacity within a community so they can create a better future for themselves. So where does all this lead? What happens when you put it all together? A shared purpose, the pillars of oneness and justice, the 2 wings of progress, and this process of organic growth? You arrive at the ultimate vision these texts are pointing toward. The Bahá'í writings have a really interesting way of looking at all the chaos in the world today. They don't see it as the end. They see it as a transition. It's like humanity is finally growing up, moving out of its collective childhood and going through the messy, turbulent teenage years on the way to maturity.
And that leads to this. Well, it's a pretty provocative statement for our time. It says that the process of building nations as the final goal of human society, that stage is over. Something new is beginning.
So, if we're growing up, what's the next logical step? It's that humanity has to evolve past the idea that every nation is an island and finally build systems that actually reflect the fact that we are all deeply interconnected. And all of this leads to one of the most famous quotes from these writings, a statement that's so simple but so profound. It just perfectly sums up this whole vision of global unity and a shared human identity. So what do we take away from all this? This perspective keeps coming back to the analogy of the world as one human body, where the health of every single part is crucial for the health of the whole. And that really leaves us with a final, searching question to think about. If that's actually true, if we are all one body, then what is our real responsibility to each other?